Hey guys, it's me, Johnny Kerms 2000 here, and I wanted to do something a little bit different. I wanted to take a break for at least this one video, from my Capcom Arcade Classics Volume 1 retrospective that I've been doing. If you haven't checked it out, go ahead check it out. It's awesome. I think you'll like it. Been getting a lot of positive feedback from it, so if you haven't looked it out, what are you waiting for? Go! Go! But anyway, I wanted to take the time now to talk about something that I really didn't think I was going to do kind of like a reaction video to, but I decided to because for a couple reasons. One, because I think that my reaction videos, the two previous ones, my reaction video to the PS4 announcement, as well as my reaction video to the Goku vs. Superman Death Battle by Screw Attack, those are two of my most popular videos, and I feel that it sparks up the conversations, and I love having conversations about this sort of stuff. I think it's good to debate. I like debating. I like expressing my opinions. So I decided, why not? I wasn't going to do it, but I decided, for the sake of you guys, for the sake of for what I'm going to talk about, I think it'd be good to make a video like this. The other reason too is this does deal with Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT. And I really wanted to make this because I feel that from my previous video for the death battle between Goku and Superman, I feel that a lot of people got the wrong impression of me. I feel that people thought that because I was siding with Superman, because I expressed my feelings about how I thought that Superman deserved the win, I feel people got the impression that I was like a huge Superman fanboy, and that I hated Goku and I hated Dragon Ball Z. And first of all, I'm not. I don't. I like Superman. I mean, I like superheroes in general. Like, I love comic books in general. But I'm not. I don't consider myself a Superman fanboy. I don't even consider myself a DC fanboy. I'm more of a Marvel guy myself. And second of all, I love Dragon Ball Z. Are you kidding me? I love Goku and the gang. I like the Z Fighters. I watched the entirety of Dragon Ball Z. I watched the entirety of Dragon Ball Z maybe like 10 times easily. At least 10 times, the entire thing, from Raditz all the way to when they had the I don't know what you call it, after the Majin Buu saga, or the Kid Buu saga rather. I watched it when it first came out on Toonami, like over a decade ago. So I've always been a Dragon Ball Z fan. So if you got the impression that I wasn't, that I hated it, here's sort of like my way to kind of tell you guys, like, hold on now. I don't hate Dragon Ball Z. I like it. To be honest, I haven't watched all of the original Dragon Ball. I like Dragon Ball. I wish I would get the chance to watch the entirety of it. In fact, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that I actually prefer some of the fight scenes in the original Dragon Ball, as opposed to like the ones in Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball GT. For the most part, because they depend more on martial arts, like traditional martial arts. I mean, as traditional as you can get in the Dragon Ball universe, as opposed to what they would eventually become in Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball GT. Not saying that they're not good, obviously. Dragon Ball Z is probably one of the most action-packed animes ever made. But in that one, at least the fight scenes became a little bit too ridiculous sometimes, and it became a lot more dependent on who has like the most energy, and who can do the biggest energy wave and stuff like that. So I kind of prefer the Dragon Ball fight scenes, some of them. As far as GT, I never got into GT all that much, mainly because it was so confusing, and I really tried to get into it. I watched most of the major events in GT, but I found myself that I tried starting to watch it. I would watch one episode, and I would miss the next one, and then I would try to come back like 2 or 3 episodes later, and I was just completely lost. So I kind of just gave up. I only watch like some of the major fight scenes, fights and stuff like that, usually just on YouTube, just because I can't be bothered watching the entire thing, mainly because it's just so confusing. But anyway, enough of that. I do love Dragon Ball, guys, I really do. And to show you guys that I do, I wanted to share what I just found. I know that I'm kind of behind the ball, especially with some of you guys that are coming here. I'm guessing you guys are already Dragon Ball Z fans. What I'm going to talk about, obviously, if you've seen the title, you already know, is Dragon Ball Epsilon. And if you don't know what Dragon Ball Epsilon is, Dragon Ball Epsilon is a fan-made miniseries, like animated miniseries, that's going on right now on YouTube. The first episode came out November 30th, 2012, so it's relatively new. I mean, a couple months old, but it's not like 5 years old or anything like that. So you may or may not have already watched it. I personally watched it for the first time like yesterday, like 2 days ago. I don't even remember. Very recent. And I just wanted to take the time now to kind of just, I guess, express my views on it, my reactions to it, what I thought was good, what I thought needed help, positives and negatives. And hopefully, after you hear my thoughts on it, you guys can share your ideas, as I always encourage you guys to do. Even you trolls out there, even the ones that I've had to delete the comments off of the one from Goku versus Superman because you guys were, you know, practice good etiquette is basically what I'm saying. If you guys just drop F-bombs and the F words and all this and stuff like that, I'm not gonna take you seriously. I've said that before. So please keep it civil. But I do encourage you guys to contribute to the conversation. So anyway, a little basic information about Dragon Ball Epsilon. Dragon Ball Epsilon, as I said, is a fan-made project. It's a very ambitious one. It basically it is an animated, it's like an animated cartoon, like an anime, on YouTube. Right now, there's only one episode. The episode is called No Way Out, and the idea is that it takes place after GT. So this is one of those fan-made things that takes GT into account, which I have mixed feelings about. I'll talk about that a little bit later. And it's very ambitious. Voice acting, animation, all of that's very good. And if you guys haven't watched it, I don't want to show the footage for obvious reasons. I don't want to take credit for what this persons, I don't know how many people were involved in this, have done. But I do encourage you guys to go ahead and look it up on YouTube. I may or may not put a link, maybe. Yeah, I will. Alright, let's see. Let's put up a link right here. Bing! There you go. Click on it. I'll wait for you. You can go check it out. It's only about 15 minutes long. It's not that long. And when you're done, you can come back and you can join in the conversation. So, first things first. I'm going to talk about the positives, because everybody likes positives. I'm assuming that you guys have already watched this. If you haven't, you can probably get an idea of what it is, but I really encourage you guys to watch it first. The first good positive thing about it is, obviously I mentioned before, how ambitious this whole project is. I am personally not one to get into these fan-made projects and stuff like that, these fanfics, mainly for a couple reasons that I will explain a little bit later. But the ambition, the ambitiousness, is that a word, ambitiousness, whatever, of this project just really, it really wowed me when I first saw it. When I first heard about it, I was kind of like, oh, okay, it's just, it's just some flash animation, some guy on a computer that made it in like 15 minutes. Okay, I'll go check it out. But when I watched it, you guys will be honestly surprised, because I was, and I'm usually not surprised by these sort of things. The animation is, it's not the best. Don't go into this thinking that it's like the same quality as the original Dragon Ball Z anime. Certainly not in the league of the Dragon Ball GT stuff. But it is good for what it is. For something that was made by a fan, this is pretty legit stuff. So I have to give major props, from one graphic designer to another. That is awesome, especially when you find out that this guy had to hand draw everything. I mentioned before how there's really only one episode, but there is a preview of episode 2 right now, where it shows him, it starts off like with a fight, and then eventually, because it's not done yet, it shows like the outlines of all the characters, and you can see, it's all hand-drawn stuff. So if not hand-drawn, it's done at least in vectors and stuff like that, which is still a pretty hard thing to do, especially when you have to do it frame by frame. So major props for that. I really wasn't expecting that. The other good thing is the good sound and good music. That's one thing that a lot of like fanfics and stuff like that kind of don't take into account, how important good sound, good music, good voice acting really can do to a project such as this. I'm sure you guys have already seen either from fan-made Dragon Ball Z stuff or other anime stuff or even video game stuff. If the voice acting is not there, if the sound effects aren't there, then it just in my opinion, it ruins the immersion. And for this one, that wasn't the case at all. There's good sound effects, sound effects I think that are in line with what you would probably hear in a Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT episode. The music, even though obviously there's none from the actual shows, it's still stuff that you could hear. It's still in line with what you could typically hear from like a new Dragon Ball anime, new Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT movie. So I really appreciated all of that. I really thought that they went above and beyond with that stuff. Even even small things like things that people don't usually think about, like music cues. For example, when the music picks up, then the action picks up, or the music. There's a cue for like, music gets really tense. So like the scene gets really tense because it's a really tense moment. Mysterious music because it's like you don't like the scene is something where you don't like the characters don't know what they're going to get into. Just little things like that can make a big difference. And this guy or group of people who are in charge of this, I honestly don't know. You guys can correct me. Really did a good job. As far as the voice acting, obviously that's usually a hit and miss. This one it's not the greatest voice acting. Obviously it's not the quality of the anime. I mean, I'm not saying that it's, crap, obviously. It got the job done, in my opinion. They did an awesome job trying to get as close to the voice actors of the original anime as possible. Some of them sound a little bit off, in my opinion. I mean, slightly off. I mean, you can never be perfect, but I mean, never to the extent that it throws you off. I appreciate what they did. I think with Goku, I think it might have been a little bit better. I think he was like just a little bit too happy, but other than that, the other stuff was pretty good. I liked the sound effects. The other interesting thing, the other positive that I can think of is the angles, which I think, as I mentioned before, it's just like another little thing that you really don't think about. But like the angles also help build like the suspense. It made me feel like I was watching a Dragon Ball episode, Dragon Ball Z episode, a new Dragon Ball GT episode, a new Dragon Ball Z movie, or whatever. It really helped build suspense. It really helped, just like I said, it's like the little things that make a big difference, in my opinion. The angles, the way that the camera is showing the characters, the way it presented a certain scene. Really good job, really outstanding. I really appreciate what they did with this. Like I said, from one graphic designer to another, I thought it was very well done. As far as the story and the villains are concerned, I really like that. Obviously, because it's only one episode, we don't get the full, backstory, I guess, of where this story is going to go, or like we're introduced to the villains, at least half of them. If you watched the episode already, you know what I'm talking about. But I felt we got enough, at least from the three that started off the episode, to where I was really interested to see where the story is going. I like the fact that, I felt the intimidation factor of these villains. It could have been really cheesy. It could have been like, I don't know, but I don't know where I'm going with this. But like, I really like the villains. They got me interested to see what their plan was for future episodes if we ever get them. And that's very important. You always want to have like a villain that you're invested in. Oftentimes, a lot of times in some of the, in movies and comic books and animes, a lot of times you kind of like the villain a little bit more. I'm kind of one of those people that a lot of times I like the villain more, and that's the one that, that's the character that keeps me involved in the story. And in this one, I really liked it. So the villains get my 2 thumbs up because they look awesome. I'm really interested to see where they're going with their scheme of what they want to do with the planet, what becomes of the Saiyans that came out of the portal or whatever at the end of it. Spoilers. And you know what? Screw it. I'm just gonna like say what happens in the video. I'm just gonna assume that you guys have already seen what happens. So good job for the villains. I really like the villains. As far as the story and the direction, I already mentioned about how I am invested already to see where it goes. I'm already interested to see where it goes. I can't wait to see like where the story goes as far as episode 2 and episode 3. I don't know how many episodes they're gonna do, but I'm interested. So very big. You know, that's a huge thing as far as like doing your own projects such as this. Um, and the last kind of positive thing that I will mention, and it's also a negative, so we will be getting into the negatives when I'm done mentioning this, is that it does happen after GT. So as far as the positives on that, here's the positive in my opinion. I like the fact that it happens after GT because it has nothing to do, or obviously it's like, you know, it takes into account everything that happened in Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, and, you know, assuming all the movies as well. But it doesn't alter any of that stuff. So basically saying that it takes all of the previous official canon stuff, if you want to call it GT canon, into account, but because it happens after, because this series takes place after all of that stuff, there's no way that it can like manipulate or change any of the stuff that we are already used to as Dragon Ball fans. And I like that. People may not think too much about that, but one of the reasons why I don't like reading fanfic is that it changes way too much. You know, it could have been where, you know, what would happen if, you know, Goku became Dragon Ball, or if Goku became Super Saiyan 4 by the time that he reached Frieza. You know, what would happen if, I don't know, like if Nappa never would have died and he became a Super Saiyan 3, which, by the way, I think it would look pretty ridiculous. So all of that stuff, I don't want them to ruin what is already established, and this series doesn't do that because it takes place after GT. So they have the creative liberty to do whatever they want, and they can get away with it because they're not changing what is already established in the Dragon Ball mythos. So I really appreciate that. On the negative, though, it does take place after GT. As I mentioned before, GT is not my favorite thing. A lot of fans, some of you may agree or not, that GT wasn't the best thing ever. You know, it's not canon according to Akira Toriyama. And so the fact that this series pretty much says, yes, GT happened, I don't know. You could go either way with that. You can either say, oh, well, you know, I can accept it that it happened because now we get Super Saiyan 4 Goku. You know, we saw everything that happened in GT, and we can take people's capabilities from, you know, that series into account, and we can use it to kind of further this new series. Or you can say, well, crap. That means that all the crazy, messed up, and just confusing crap that happened in GT is now canon. You know, at least according to this new series. So you can go either way. As far as the negatives for this stuff, some of it's just little nitpicks, honestly, but it will make a big difference. Just be warned, this is spoilers. The first big thing that I just do not understand. Well, actually, let me start with a small nitpick. There was a time in the episode, in episode 1, where they showed Oob playing with his kids, and they showed off the they showed them playing Mario on the screen. They actually zoomed in on this TV screen and they were playing Mario, I don't know what, but it showed like Baby Mario, Baby Luigi, and I think Bowser. And you may not think much of it, but for me, it completely takes me, you know, like I said before, like immersion is a big thing about these sort of things. And when I saw that, I was just like, are you kidding me? So it completely took me out of the story, because now it's just like, it just reminded me that this is fan fiction, you know? And like I said, for me, I don't like fan fiction because of this, you know, because of the fact that it does that. Because of the fact that it takes like little things that would never ever ever happened in the original Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT episodes, and just says, oh, whatever, you know, you know, Mario fans and video game fans will get this little reference. But I don't want that, you know? I don't want to think about Mario when I'm watching Dragon Ball Z, you know? But I mean, that's a little thing. It doesn't have anything to do with the story, but it's just, again, it's just one of those things that took me out of the story. Speaking of Oob, another big thing that I was kind of confused about, honestly, it's not a complete negative, but it did raise a couple questions, was that in this series they go under the assumption that Oob and Pan got together, and in fact they show them off having 2 kids. And you know, it's not a complete, you know, it's not that it completely took me out of the story, but it's still one of those, you know, WTF moments, because it's like, what? Oob and Pan? And I may you guys are surely, you know, even if I don't ask you, you can correct me when I say this, but I don't remember ever seeing any kind of evidence that those two ever had some sort of romantic relationship or even interest. Even in the Dragon Ball GT movie that, you know, 100 years later or whatever, it never really showed Pan, who's like 100 years old. They never mentioned anything about her being romantically linked to any of the other previously established characters, including Oob. So the fact that this series kind of just says, oh, well, Pan and Oob, you know, screw it, just get them together. And for me, I thought that, honestly, I think it's a, you know, obviously there's only one episode, so I don't know, but I think it's a little bit of a cop-out just to say that there's now like a new Saiyan bloodline, even though Pan's Saiyan bloodline is really, you know, it's almost not there. But I think it was just a way to say, like, hey, we got new Super Saiyan, you know, little kids running around, you know, the sons of Oob and Pan. Obviously, that's completely guesswork, so don't criticize me for that. I'm just saying. But like I said, it's not something that completely took me out of it, but I was just like a bit confused about that. Just thought I mentioned that. The other small thing is I don't know what the heck happened to Goten's hair. Like I said, these are small things. I will be getting to the more big negative things that I have, the big issues that I have with this thing. But Goten's hair, my God, what happened? If you haven't seen it, watch it. He looks completely emo. I don't know what happened. Like his hair, if you guys know what Goten's hair looked like at the end of GT, his hair was kind of spiky. He almost looked like, you know, he almost looked like Gohan in a way, except with a little, his hair was a little bit more spikier. I think it was a little longer. That much I remember from GT. And I thought that was cool. I thought, you know, because they're brothers, they're supposed to look alike. And for this one, the way that they represented Goten, you know, obviously he's older now. He's almost to the, I think he's at the age where Future Trunks was in Dragon Ball Z, maybe a little older. And, you know, he's grown up, and he has emo hair. And he has emo hair, and he has like earrings on. And I'm just like, what the heck did you do to Goten? You know, everything else, I love his outfit because it looks like, you know, Goku's outfit, which I thought was a good little homage to his dad, which I really appreciated. He looked really cool with it. But his hair, my God, his hair. And it's so funny because when he goes Super Saiyan, his hair doesn't go anywhere. And I know, you know, going level 1 Super Saiyan doesn't really actually do much with your hair. But it just looks so weird seeing him, you know, with emo looking, you know, hair across the eye. I don't think it's across his eye, but it is like pushed to the side kind of. Blonde hair, blue eyes with earrings. He looks a little bit too girlish for my taste. And I can't shake the feeling that this was just the designer, the artist's way of putting himself in it. I don't know what this guy looks like, but it looks like it was just like a fan-made character almost. You know, it's like, I don't know. Like I said, it's not a big thing, but it's one of those things that just, you know, it's like, what? So, I mean, you guys can say whatever you want about it. That's my take about it, my take on it. So now we get to the more, I guess, we get to the part of this reaction video where I express the parts that I just didn't like, or I have concerns about. The first major thing is that it reintroduces Future Trunks, and the reason I have a problem with it is because, in my opinion, I mean, if you guys haven't seen it, Future Trunks does show up in this. He shows up at the end of episode 1, getting out of his time capsule and stuff like that, and he says like, "Oh, I gotta warn them, or I gotta stop it before something bad happens." And in my opinion, there is absolutely no reason why Future Trunks needs to be there, for a couple of reasons. One is because why would he care what happens in this timeline? You know, the only reason why Future Trunks came back to, you know, to help the Z fighters in the first place was because his timeline was being affected by the androids. He came back to stop the androids. He went back, you know, to his own timeline, and it didn't change anything. He just decided that it would be best to change that timeline that he visited, which is our timeline that we see on the show. But to say that he came back again to save the same timeline again doesn't make sense from a timeline perspective, because he wouldn't have known that these new villains would have came in. And even then, why does he care? You know, like, I don't know. Like, I think it just, honestly, again, it just goes back to this whole fanfic. You know, obviously Future Trunks is a very popular character in Dragon Ball Z. I love him. A lot of people love him. A lot of people think, you know, for a lot of people, it's he is their favorite character. And I thought that this was just a cop out just to get him in there. But again, it doesn't make sense from a storyline perspective for him to be there. It just doesn't. And in fact, we already have Trunks, and you know, we already have Trunks as it is, grown up, and he looks exactly the same as Future Trunks. He has the long hair, he has the ponytail, he's buff as all get out. He looks exactly like Future Trunks. So there's absolutely, you know, so basically what I'm getting at is, even if you liked Future Trunks, if that's your favorite character, you already have pretty much this exact same character in the Trunks that we got in this series, you know, the grown-up Trunks. So, in my opinion, I thought that was just like a, you know, there's really no reason to have Future Trunks here, and I thought it just, for me, again, it just one of those things that just takes me out, because it's like, oh, that's right, this is a fanfic, you know, you know, they're just trying to get all their cool characters back in there, even if they have no purpose. But I will give them the benefit of the doubt. If they can convince me in episode 2, 3, whatever, in the future, that Future Trunks does need to be there for whatever reason, you know, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they have some cool little twist that they can provide and make it, you know, make it acceptable for him to be there. But until then, I stick to my decision of saying, just, there's no reason to have him there. It's just a waste of time, a waste of character. You could easily have developed another character, even introduce a new one. Why, you know, who says you can't introduce a new one? So that's that. The other thing that I thought was a bit confusing is that in this series, for whatever reason, everybody has their Saiyan tail. Gohan has his Saiyan tail, Goku has his Saiyan tail, Vegeta has his Saiyan tail, and it's not even the fact that they, you know, it's not even the fact that they tell you why they have them back. It the episode just started and it shows Goku with his Saiyan tail, Vegeta and Gohan. I can't remember if the other ones have it, but they absolutely make no mention about it. Like, no explanation. There's no, you know, we don't know why their tails are back. We don't, you know, it kind of just assumes that, hey, they have their Saiyan tail, and you're kind of just sitting there saying, okay, I guess they have their Saiyan tails now for whatever reason. I didn't know that it could come back. So that was another one, what the heck moment. I'm really interested to see what they go with this. You know, it's really confusing, and again, it's just one of those things where I think it's just like the inner fanfic of this guy who wrote the script for this thing. He just decided one day, it's like, Goku looks kind of cool with his Saiyan tail. Guess I'm just gonna have to put it back in, provide no background as to how or why it came back. I think it would have worked had they made some kind of montage or whatever, or some kind of explanation at the beginning of the episode where they say why the Saiyan tail came back, along with why Oob and Pan decided to randomly just hook up and have kids. So in that case, I think it would have been beneficial to have an explanation, even if a brief one, you know, at the beginning of the episode to explain why. You know, because as of right now, we're kind of just left making assumptions on our own as to why all of a sudden these guys have their Saiyan tails back. You know, and for what, you know, for another reason other than just aesthetic, you know, other than just like, oh, well, they look better with their tails, you know. So I think that could, and you know, from a storyline perspective, that could screw things up so much, because it's like, I don't even know if the moon is back up again, but who's to say that they can't turn into a great ape now, you know? So that's gonna screw things up, right? I mean, I thought the whole point of getting rid of the Saiyan tail was for safety reasons, but I guess this guy just decided to bring it back. It's like, screw the people. If there's a full moon one day, screw it. You know, they're just gonna like level the entire city. But as long as they have their tails and they can look cool, it's all right. But anyway, last but not least, the biggest problem that I have with this project, and it's one of the biggest problems that I always have as far as Dragon Ball Z related fanfic, is the abuse of the Super Saiyan transformations. I know that for a lot of people, that's the main thing that they want from a fan-made project. That's the main thing that they want to hear whenever there's news about a new, manga, or like the new movie, for example. The one thing that everybody wanted to talk about was, oh, will Goku transform into a new level of Super Saiyan? And I'll be the first one to say that I was one of them. But when it comes to fan fiction, people just abuse it, like, all the time. It's gotten so ridiculous now that, people have come up with, like, Super Saiyan 21 or something like that. It's so ridiculous. Like, I'll be the first one to say that Super Saiyan 5 I thought was cool. Everybody knows Super Saiyan 5, right? It's the one that, it's kind of like a combination of Super Saiyan 3, Super Saiyan 4. He has, like, Goku has, like, the fur and the long hair, but it's white. And he has, like, a really cool, like, looking pants or whatever. Like, that I could understand. I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. But then, like, you just get so ridiculous. Fans decide to make their own versions of Super Saiyans and stuff like that. And, like, then you have, like, Goku with hair that goes, all the way to the floor. And it's just all kinds of ridiculous. And the sad part is that this series kind of abuses that as well. Just to let you guys know, just from the intro alone... Just from the intro. Mind you, the intro lasts about, like, what? All of not even a minute. And from the ending credits, I counted over 5 different versions of a Super Saiyan. Of a, maybe a new version of a Super Saiyan or a new fusion that has turned Super Saiyan or whatever. Over 5. That is ridiculous. There is no need to have that many new Super Saiyan transformations. Yes, some of them look cool and it would be super awesome to see what they do, but again, I'm totally banking on the idea that this is a new storyline. From a storyline perspective, it makes no sense to have this many Super Saiyan transformations. From a personal standpoint, I would still like for them to see, I would still love to see more of Super Saiyan 3, in my opinion, we never really got to see much of Super Saiyan 3, and that's, like, for me, that's the coolest looking transformation. I don't like Super Saiyan 4. Obviously, I haven't seen the new Dragon Ball movie, Dragon Ball Z movie, where it's Super Saiyan God. It looks pretty cool. I will say this. I'll put this little thing in there. I actually thought it was so awesome that Akira Toriyama decided to make Dragon Ball God, Super Saiyan God look the way it did, because it was almost like a big FU to all the fans that had created their own version of the Super Saiyan. Because, like, if you guys Google Super Saiyan 5, 6, 7, or whatever, they all look so ridiculous. Like, the designs are so ridiculous. Like, it's always Goku with, like, ridiculous hair, white hair, purple hair, blue hair, whatever. He's glowing, like, in the dark. His eyes, are black or silver or whatever. And when we finally, like, if you've seen the screenshots for Super Saiyan God Goku, he's like the most tamed version of Goku there is. He basically just looks like like Goku going Kaioken. Like, he has, like, this red aura, but his hair doesn't change, like, his clothes doesn't change. And I thought it was, like, just the biggest FU from Akira Toriyama. It's like, look, guys, calm it down with the Super Saiyan transformations. So I think Akira Toriyama sides with me on this one. So yeah, that's the biggest problem that I have with this series. There's no need to have this many Super Saiyan versions, guys. We really don't. Because from a storyline standpoint, even if they look awesome, even if Goku transforms into, like, Super Saiyan 7, because you have so many, it makes every previous Super Saiyan transformation obsolete. Just try to remember how cool it was when Goku transformed to Super Saiyan 3 the first time. You guys remember that? It's like, this is Super Saiyan 1, this is what's called Super Saiyan 2, and this is to go beyond. You guys remember it. You guys seen the YouTube video. How awesome was that, and like, we stood there and we watched for the first time, and we were, like, our jaws were on the floor, and it's like, oh man, that was so awesome. I can't wait to see what this guy is capable of doing. And then ever since then, because we've gotten Super Saiyan 4 and Super Saiyan God now, and because people have made their own version of Super Saiyan, 7, 15 or whatever, now we look at Super Saiyan 3 and it's not as, it's not as awesome anymore, because, like, oh, well, screw Super Saiyan 3, we have our own version, This time his hair is silver, and his tail's back, and his muscles are freaking huge, and his eyes, you can't even see them because like they're covered in white. And yes, Goku has like some crazy tattoos. You know, that's part of his transformation, and his fur is back. Yeah, let's put some fur on him. And yeah, by the way, there is like a Goku, like a version of Goku in this series that actually has tattoos. I thought it was like the corniest thing ever, but whatever. So yeah, I think that from a storyline standpoint, there's really no need to have all these Super Saiyan transformation, and that's the biggest problem that really plagues a lot of these fanfic, a lot of these fan-made projects like this. And this one, unfortunately, is no different. And I thought for me, that's the biggest setback of this whole thing, is that it kind of does the same thing that other things have done. It just completely abuses the Super Saiyans. You know, now you have like Super Saiyan. You know, everybody and their mother is like a Super Saiyan. There's like girls that are Super Saiyans. You know, Goku is obviously gonna go through like 4 more transformations. You know, Super Saiyan 5, 6, 7, and 8. I don't know what the deal is, but I mean, again, I counted all the Super Saiyans from the intro and the credits, and there's like 5 different versions of Super Saiyan. So, in my opinion, I think if you could take it out, I would, for once in my life, I would love to see a fan-made project such as this, especially at this level. I would love to see where they them create an awesome storyline without having to do the whole Super Saiyan thing. Like, don't introduce a new Super Saiyan level. You know, work with what you got, and make that version, make the latest version, whether it's Super Saiyan 3, Super Saiyan 4, or Super Saiyan God, and make that version, that transformation of Super Saiyan, seem even more powerful. Like, you don't need to transform Goku over and over and over again to show off how powerful he is, at least in my opinion. So that's it for me. I'm sorry for talking so long. I mean, like I said, guys, despite what you may have heard, or well, despite the kind of image that I may have portrayed myself to be in the previous Goku vs. Superman reaction video, I am a big Dragon Ball Z fan. That's why I spent, the last 40 minutes talking about this fan-made project, which, despite despite all the negatives that I pointed out, I am really excited to see Episode 2. At this time, at the time that I'm recording this, Episode 2 hasn't come out yet. It's only Episode 1. But even that episode is really cool. Again, if you haven't seen it, if you're any Dragon Ball kind of fan, you owe it to yourself to watch it. As I said, even if you're not into fanfics, fan-made stuff, as I clearly am not, you know, I just spent like the last 10 minutes just going off on fan-made stuff. But even I like this stuff, so even I like this series. Dragon Ball Epsilon looks to be pretty awesome. So, again, I implore you to go check it out. Give it a look. Again, go off on the comment sections as you have before. I know you will. But this time, please don't tell me that I'm not a Dragon Ball fan or that I'm a Superman fanboy, because I'm not. I'm a Marvel fanboy. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, just write in the comment section, what do you think? Go watch it, come back, listen to what I have to say again, and make your own assumptions, make your own comments about it. Tell me what you think. Do you like Dragon Ball Epsilon? Do you like the idea of having all these new Super Saiyan transformations? Do you like how it's going so far? Do you like the voice acting? Whatever. Let me know. Again, this has been Johnny Crimson 2000. If you haven't checked out any of my other videos, especially my reaction videos to the PS4 and the death battle between Goku and Superman, go check those out. Otherwise, if you like this video, subscribe, comment, like, and I'll see you in my next video. Peace out, guys.